Hi everyone, there is so much that you can do in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's on the island of Oahu. It's known as the Party Island, so obviously there's lots going on compared to the other islands as well. They have a very touristy vibe too, so there's lots of different adventures you can take, guided tours and all of that. There's a lot of different cultures that live there actually, and a lot of different foods that you can try there as well. So since I work on cruise ships, I have the ability to get off for one day, get there in the morning, and then we leave usually around like 5 p.m. But Honolulu is different because we stay until usually 10 p.m. Sometimes we've done complete overnights where we're there for 2 days, and that is absolutely amazing. This has some good tips of what to do in one day when you're on a cruise in Honolulu. However, if you also have limited time in Hawaii on one of your trips, then I suggest watching this video so that you get to know a little bit of the top things to do. I've been to Hawaii, yes, just for less than 24 hours every time. However, I've been multiple times over a 2-year period, so I've really gotten to explore different parts of the city. I'll get into what I did one day in Hawaii with a few friends. At the end of the video, I'll go through some extra things that you can do that I've done before that I really recommend that I didn't do on this single trip to Hawaii. We rented a car split between the 4 of us, which was a very simple process as there are lots of car rental options in Honolulu. It was around $170 for the day and from just outside our port terminal, so we just picked it up from outside the port, which was really convenient. We started by grabbing some coffee and breakfast at Arvo Cafe. It was only about a 10-minute drive away from Pier 2 Cruise Terminal. And the food and coffee there is both so good. One of my Australian friends raves about that place, and she swears by just Australian coffee. Then after we were done eating, we headed to the Ho'omaluhia Botanical Garden, which is about a 25-minute drive away. That area we drove to is also popular with tons of hikes around the area that I've done on previous days that I've visited Honolulu. So if you have more time, I recommend taking those short hikes that last around 2 hours. There's a good one including Manoa Falls, which is very popular, so you'll have to plan for that, but it is a great one to do. I've heard a lot of people really love that one. These botanical gardens have these beautiful cascading ridges of the Kulau mountain range, and we got out and we walked around for a while, but you can of course relish in the beauty if you stay in your car on the road as well. There are all these beautiful forests there as well that you can walk through, and little park areas. Lots of people were taking photos there. And I think some professional photographers were doing like engagement photos, but just look at this. It's so amazing. There were koi fish in this, well, it's not really a pond. It's more like a lake. But like most botanical gardens in the world, you can really take your time and just relish in the nature and all that it has to offer and all the sights that you have. You also have a visitor center there, of course, and it's completely free to visit, which is really nice. It does take you to a dead end, so you'll have to come out the way that you came in, but it's definitely worth it. Then we wandered down the other side of the mountain to the eastern side of the island and decided to drive on the coast back to the port. We stopped at a few lookout points beside Route 72, including the Makapu'u Beach Lookout, where you can also view the Manana Island Seabird Sanctuary far in the distance. I think that's on 2 different islands. There's also a Halona blowhole lookout. The blowhole is not super visible, and I always find these underwhelming anywhere in the world, but the beach nearby is beautiful, and I saw some people jumping into the water in this little cove area below us, so that was really, really cool to see as well, so I would recommend doing that if you have time. It did look pretty rough out there with the waves, and you have to be very wary of the waves in Hawaii because they can change at any moment. Then we wrapped back around to head to the pier to drop off the car and took an Uber back into the downtown Honolulu area to grab some food. So we just went to McDonald's because we were in a rush, but there are plenty of options down there, and headed to the iconic Waikiki Beach. It's one of the busiest beaches I've ever been to in my life, but there's something so magical about it even with all the crowds. We had seen many sunsets on our Honolulu late departure days, but a huge group of us organized a sunset cruise where you meet directly on the beach and board a bright yellow catamaran. It's also very popular. It is around $60 per person with unlimited alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks on board. They had Mai Tais and all of that. The workers were super cool, and you even have a photographer selling Polaroid pictures. Some were pretty expensive. It was like $10 with a frame, but it was a really cute memory to have, so I ended up getting one. We did have a lot of fun on that cruise, and there was a huge wave that came out and kind of wiped us all out, which was also pretty funny. So it definitely makes for some really good core memories, especially if you have a group to go with. Last year when I came to Honolulu, a group and I did a fireworks catamaran cruise instead, because the sunset cruises were all booked out for the day, so make sure you do this well in advance of the date you're looking for. I think Honolulu has the fireworks every Friday night, so that's an option as well. Afterward, me and a few girls did a night swim on Waikiki Beach, which was so nice because the water is, of course, very warm and there's hardly anyone else there. Then we wandered past an outdoor food truck called K Street Food with acai bowl, shaved ice, and ramen, and some other things as well. It was so delicious, so I definitely recommend eating here on a night out if you're looking for something easy and authentic. So that was how we spent the full day in Honolulu, Hawaii. If you only have one day, renting a car is honestly the best way to do it because, you know, you can travel all across the island pretty much in one day if you really prioritize different things. There's so much more you can do, so you can do lots of hiking, and it's only about 20 minutes from both the cruise terminals. That's also like near the main area, so downtown Honolulu, Waikiki Beach, all of that is kind of on the it's like the southern side of the island all along there. And there's just so much you can do within like a 15-mile radius. So there are multiple 2-hour, 3-hour hikes. If you don't have any time to hike except for one hike, I would suggest doing Diamond Head Crater Hike. So that's more like a walk. It's really, really populated. There is some shade, but I would still recommend prioritizing bringing sunscreen. You do have to pay to go because it is technically a historical site. So during World War II, there was an outlook at the top of the track. It's very touristy, so be warned. I would definitely go earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon maybe, because in the middle of the day it just gets so busy. You do have to pay to go, and I think it's $5, but that was 2 years ago, so they might have upped the price. Koko Head Crater Hike is also really cool, so that's a little bit farther down. It's across from Hanauma Bay, which I'll talk about a little bit. But the Koko Head Crater is an abandoned railroad track, and it goes up the crater, and it is so steep. It's not very long, but you do have to have some stamina because you're just climbing up this abandoned railway. There's parts of it that are kind of sketchy. At one point I was like crawling on the ground. I also recommend wearing sunscreen on that one and bringing some more, and maybe even covering yourself with like an overshirt or something, because there's no coverage, like no shade at all. When you get to the top, there's some shade, and when you're at the bottom, there's some shade, but definitely prepare with sunscreen, sunglasses. You know, the Hawaii sun is brutal, especially for someone like me who's very pale. So right across the street from that is Hanauma Bay, which is a protected area. So they preserve that area and they let you visit it and snorkel. So there's a big snorkeling area down in the bay, but you actually arrive at the top of the hill or the top of the cliff, I guess. And you go to the visitor center, and I didn't realize this when I looked it up to go there, but I brought all my friends to this bay, and you do actually have to pay $25 per person to enter. If you're willing to do it, I do recommend it because it is really beautiful. Of course, you can go to other bay-like areas across the island as well that are free. When you get through, you go to a visitor center, you pay for your ticket, and then you go through this area where a tour guide is sort of explaining what the bay preserves, what their mission is, and how you can avoid destroying the area. So they want to make sure that everyone is respectful. Then they take you in a shuttle. It's like a huge golf cart type shuttle, and they take you down to the bay. You can also walk. It's a little bit longer, obviously, so we just took the shuttle because we had all of our beach gear. And they have snorkels that you can rent and stuff like that. I do recommend bringing your own though, because it's pretty expensive. Ala Moana Mall is near the port as well. That's near the pier. That is a huge mall. It has, you know, like all the big name places. If you are trying to find a bikini or a bathing suit or whatever, swim trunks, I wouldn't recommend going there, because unless it's like the summer season of the US as well. Because if you go there in the winter time or any other season really, they will just be selling like American season clothing. So even in Hawaii, they'll be selling like sweaters and winter jackets in Hollister and all those places, because I don't know, I guess it's America and it doesn't matter that Hawaii's warm. You have to go to specific surf shops that sell that stuff year round. There are a lot of boutique bathing suit companies in downtown Honolulu, but yeah, they're very skimpy and they're over $100, so it's like not really worth it in my opinion, but do what you want. A must-do, absolute must-do, is the Pearl Harbor Memorial and Museum. It's really, really cool to see, and obviously it's very emotional. It's not like a light-hearted thing to go see in Honolulu, so definitely prepare yourself for that. I would suggest doing that in the morning or, you know, earlier on in your day, so that you can kind of take it all in and really spend time there, and then go do something afterwards, kind of unwind from that experience. It's also cool because there's lots of other things you can do while you're there. So you can do a tour of a submarine, and that's actually underwater. So they've parked a submarine there from World War II. Really cool for someone like me who works on a huge vessel, like a cruise ship, to go in this tiny, tiny submarine and imagine living there, because already living on a cruise ship is kind of close quarters, but they really had small bunk beds and a very small living area, so that was pretty interesting. And of course, if you just don't have much time, you don't really want to do much, you can pick and choose things from this video, of course, but even just walking downtown to downtown Honolulu, grabbing some food, going to the beach, watching the sunset there is an amazing experience, and you're around so many people and surfers in the background, and it's just really cool. I hope you found this video helpful for your 24 hours or less in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I hope you enjoy my other hiking and traveling videos. Follow along for more. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel.